Facebook has roughly 2 billion monthly active users. So what that means is that 2 billion unique individuals visit Facebook or the Facebook app at least once per month. Now, of those 2 billion users, about 1.2 billion of them access Facebook exclusively from their mobile device. So that has implications for you as an advertiser because, first of all, from a usability standpoint, many people are only accessing Facebook on a smartphone. Now, second of all, Facebook is registering their location on planet Earth every time they access the app. That means that on Facebook, you can do a lot of geo-targeting. So what we're gonna do here first is let's talk a little bit about the capabilities of Facebook's ecosystem and their ad network. First, we're gonna talk about the pixel, then we're gonna talk about audiences, then we're gonna talk about objectives, and then the product catalog. Let's talk about the pixel. So the pixel is one of Facebook's most powerful tools for businesses and advertisers. And there's basically two forms of the pixel. There's what they call the base pixel, which is something that you install website wide. And what it does is it's basically kind of like Google Analytics, if you're familiar with that. It tracks Facebook users' behavior on your website or within your mobile app. Now, that will give you things like page views, who's been to the website, what pages have they been on. Now, in addition to the base code, there's what is called event tracking. Now, event tracking is a little bit more customizable. You can set up events that track certain things and send them back to Facebook. This can be really important for things like remarketing. For example, you can say anybody who has gotten to this page, that means they've purchased something worth this much and it was this product. That can be really important when you're trying to do things like automatically cross-sell people. You can say, oh, people who've spent, $20 on this category of products, let's sell them these things, right? And you can do all of that on an automated basis, etc. That's all powered by the pixel. All right, next let's talk about audiences. So audiences is the second part of the 4 core components of the Facebook ecosystem, and there are core audiences, custom audiences, and lookalike audiences. Let's talk about the core audience. Facebook has a ton of data on its users. So whenever you take basically Facebook's existing data and then you say, I want these users, you're creating what's called a core audience. So that might be something like things related to people's demographics, their age, their gender, right? You're taking what Facebook knows about them and then you're creating an audience to advertise to. Now your audience itself is the potential number of people that you're going to be able to advertise to. So that audience might be like 2 million people, but depending on your budget, you're going to determine how many of those 2 million people are receiving your ad. All right, now let's talk about custom audiences. So a custom audience is basically when you take some source of data, you bring it into Facebook, and Facebook tries to match your data with Facebook users. So let's give an example. So let's say that you have an email list of like 10,000 people. So you take your email list, and it doesn't have to be that big, but it needs to be probably at least like 500 or so people to make this worthwhile. So you take your email list, you export it, you import it on Facebook, and Facebook matches the number of email addresses that you've just given it with users. So now, for example, let's say you send out a marketing campaign to your email list. At the same time, you have the same marketing campaign going on Facebook to those users, you have a higher chance of conversion. All right, now let's talk about lookalike audiences. Lookalike audiences are when basically you take any audience you've already created. It could be an audience that's based on people who visited your website, people who you exported through an email list and uploaded, or a core audience, or based on people's behavior, like people who like your Facebook page. So you take this audience, and Facebook does a mathematical model to say, okay, we think these people are most like these people. And you can make audiences relatively big doing that. And what this is basically a way for you to increase the probability that these new people are going to be fans of whatever it is that you're trying to sell them or to get them to do. Because Facebook is matching them based on certain characteristics. All right, and any time that you're working with these audiences, you can always narrow down and modify your audience based on demographic data. So that's stuff like age, income, gender. On interest data, for example, people who like The Economist or like Amazon.com or whatever, right? Or on behaviors. So for example, people who access Facebook only with an iPhone, right? So those are the three ways that you can narrow down your audience. Now let's talk about objectives. So Facebook sees the advertising world in three ways: becoming aware of something, considering it, and then converting into a customer. So Facebook has a number of objectives, and every time you launch a campaign, you have to assign an objective to that campaign. It's not optional. And this is important, and here's why. Because let's say, so here's a couple of objectives. There's one that's called a reach objective and another one that's called an engagement objective. So the reach objective is designed to get your brand exposed to the maximum number of people, just to get the maximum number of eyeballs of unique people on your brand. Now the engagement objective is designed to get whatever you promote, like a post, comments, likes, and shares. So why is this important? Well, it's important because behind all of what you see in Facebook's ecosystem, Facebook is running a lot of algorithms to try to make sure that whatever you're trying to achieve is achieved. They want you to be successful on Facebook as an advertiser because they want you to spend more money as an advertiser on Facebook. So those are the three types of objectives. There are objectives designed to get you awareness with new people, others that are designed to get people to consider you, consider whatever it is that you're trying to get them to do or sell them, and then finally, objectives that are trying to get them to convert into paying customers, okay? All right, now finally, let's talk about the Facebook product catalog. Think of the product catalog like your digital catalog that's on Facebook. But because it's digital, it's a lot cooler. Let me tell you what I mean here. So within the product catalog, there's something called a product feed. Now a product feed is basically just an Excel sheet that has some data about whatever it is you're selling. It could be products, it could be hotel room nights, it could be tickets to whatever. And so each of the rows in the Excel sheet represents a product. And then you can, with the columns, you can give Facebook some data about your products. Now this might sound kind of complicated, but it enables you to do some really, really cool things. For example, the product catalog is designed to create rules, for example, to say, oh, well, if anybody purchases these things, then if they purchase them within the last 2 weeks, sell them these things, right? And the product catalog is the thing that powers all of that. So those are the 4 core components of the Facebook ecosystem. And now you should be getting some type of idea of the scale, 2 billion people, 1.2 billion on mobile, and also the core capabilities of the Facebook marketing and advertising ecosystem.